I'm Joe Castro, and I'm addicted to watching the Philadelphia Eagles football. What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So we are going to talk about what I would do if I was the GM. Now, we just went live and somebody asked me in there, what would you do if the season was over and how would you fix this team? So I'm going to answer that question now. I did answer it a little bit in live. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. Now, before we do that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, follow us. If you're following us on Newsbreak, we love you. We just hit 1 million impressions on there, so I really do appreciate that. And we're slowly reaching 500,000 views on YouTube. So I appreciate you guys for all the love, man. But please do hit that like. It really, really does help out the channel, just pushes our content, lets YouTube know that you guys love this. So let's get it in, right? So the question is that I have to answer today is, if the season was over, what would the moves would be that I would make? And I know that would make no sense in English. I need to work on it. But so the moves I would make, and I'm going to start with the most obvious person, because I know everybody wants to talk about Jalen Hurts. And my offseason plans don't involve Jalen Hurts that much, and a good way and in a bad way. Now, this is what I'm saying. If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles front office and I'm the Philadelphia Eagles staff, scouting staff, I should say, I'm looking at this draft and I'm looking at the players, and if I don't fall in love with somebody, with the picks that we have, we realistically can get a top quarterback. We might not have the number 1 overall pick. I don't think it would take that much to get up there. If the Dolphins continue to be bad, if the Colts continue to be bad, if we continue to be bad. So I think that it's a obtainable goal to get in the top 3, top 5 of this draft. If there's a guy that you absolutely love, that you just need so bad, then okay, go ahead and get you your quarterback. But if there's not somebody in this draft that is not a lock, you know how like they like to say, a lock to be a great quarterback, I think that you wait it out with Gardner Minshew, with Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew. I think whether or not you think Jalen Hurts is that guy, you have to give this team a year to build. This draft and this offseason in general has to be about getting younger, getting a future of this team. I've continuously said I don't know what the future of this team is. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. Now, who are the players that I think we need to replace or upgrade at the position? I'm going to say defensive line. We need to get a young core on that defensive line. It is definitely a thing that we pride ourselves on as a Philadelphia organization and fans, that we always have had a very dominant defensive line. It is time to find, we all hoped that Milton Williams would prove us wrong, but realistically it's looking more and more like that was a reach of a pick. So we need somebody that can play on the outside, that can really shake some things up. We see how big the loss of Brandon Graham has been to this defense. So I really need to find, I think Javon Hargrave can be that defensive tackle that you build around, a la a Fletcher Cox. I'm not saying he's Fletcher, but I'm saying he's got the talent to be somebody you build around. Now, I don't see that on the outside. I don't see Derek Barnett being somebody we can build around. I don't necessarily see Josh Sweat as someone we can build around. So we have to find that centerpiece of the defensive line. Obviously, linebacker has to be a cause of concern or a focal point in this offseason, whether you're getting somebody that's a veteran from a team like maybe the Steelers, who have a couple of linebackers that I'm not sure how they're going to pay them next year, or any other team. You look at the landscape of the NFL, there are linebackers that most likely will become free agents that would upgrade this linebacking core. I would love to get a young guy in here from the draft. I'm just not going to bet my chips on it. I'm not going to, if I was Howie, I would. But I'm assuming that I'm one of the staff. This is me talking to Howie, right? And I know if I say to Howie, draft a linebacker with your first pick, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So I feel like that's a positional group that we can get better in the free agency, but we have to focus on it. And maybe we draft with somebody with our last first round pick as a linebacker. Maybe it's something we get in the second or third round. We've seen success doing that with linebackers, but it has to be something that we have very, very high focus focus on. So far, I'm saying, one, if you have a quarterback that you're absolutely in love with, go after him, go get him. But if not, stick it out one more year with Jalen or Gardner Minshew, whoever you want to be running the reins next year. 2, go get yourself a defensive lineman that you can build around. Make what your strength is stronger throughout this rebuild process. 3, focus on these linebackers. And like I said, I want us to draft one, and I'm not going to sit here and say don't. But I know that it's going to probably fall on deaf ears if you talk to Howie about drafting them. So look at the free agents. We have to get better. We can't just spend $3 million on an Eric Wilson type player. We have to go out there and get an impact player, and it might cost us some money if you're not willing to do it in the draft. Now, the next point I want to make, and I've been saying this a lot, is you have to figure out what the future of this cornerback situation is. This is the first time in a long time, and I know that these past couple games haven't been the easiest because of, we're basically giving them 10 yards on almost every play. But realistically, the pairing of Steven Nelson and Darius Slay is probably the best cornerback duo we've had in a very long time. We're probably not going to have that next year. Darius Slay is quickly approaching 33, or 32, something like that. So he's not a young player. Steven Nelson's not a young player. Darius Slay is very expensive next year. So I'm looking at this draft as something you have to walk out of here with a cornerback in the first round. You just have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially if you're not going after a quarterback. You have to walk out of here with a cornerback. I would put cornerback even higher as a priority in this draft, especially over linebacker. I really would, because there are, like I said, linebackers that you can get in free agency that would be an upgrade. I don't see you getting a free agent cornerback or even trading for a cornerback that can be the future of this team and help you for 10 years, 5 to 10 years down the line. We need a number one cornerback, and we need it bad. So I'm saying cornerback next. Now, for this offense, I say we get some linemen. I don't think that it's a huge need. I do feel confident in the players that we have. I would love to see a guy that can realistically just be our center, or just be, just somebody that can literally take over when Jason Kelce leaves. It looks like Landon Dickerson will probably play more outside. I like Nate Herbig, but if you can get a second or third round center that is a really good center, then you're looking at a really good offensive line for years to come, in my opinion. And not only just the starting 5, you have really good depth. So I do think that offensive line is something you want to key in on. I don't think, like I said, it's the biggest of our concerns, and I don't think that it's the biggest thing that we should use our capital on, but I do think that it's a concern. Now, I want to talk about something that I don't necessarily think is a concern, but I know a lot of people have been bringing it up, and that's our wide receiving core. I think that, and I've been one to say, if you can go get an Allen Robinson, I'm not going to sit here and be mad about it, but I think if you look at our wide receiving core, we're young, we have talent. We have, Dallas Goedert, who hopefully will be getting re-signed. They seem to be very high on Tyree Jackson, so I'm very confident in the future of our tight end group. But if you look at our wide receivers, Devontae Smith looks like the real deal. I really do feel like that. You look at Quez Watkins, I feel like he deserves more snaps, and he's been showing that he can be a very good number 2 in this offense. And you look at Jalen Reagor, if he gets kitty cornered down to the number 3 wide receiver, that's not bad at all. I'm not against trying to draft young wide receivers, in the mid rounds and seeing what you hit on. I don't think that it's something that you go get a first round wide receiver again, or a second round wide receiver even. Maybe third, maybe fourth, fifth. You go out there and throw some flyers out. Maybe you get another Quez Watkins type. But I'm not high on using high assets on this wide receiving core. I think this is one of the only positions that we're very young and very the arrow is pointing up for the wide receiving group. So I don't think that it's as big of an issue or a concern for me going into this offseason. So I think if we do that, we can turn this team around. To put it all in one capsulation and conclusion, I guess, is I think that this team has to focus on building this team. I do think that you have to make a decision on what you think Jalen Hurts is, because if he isn't that guy and you have the assets to go get a guy that you think can be that guy, then you have to do that. But at the same point, I'm not totally saying give up everybody, give up on everything. Let's build this team a little bit. This is one of the rare times that we have high draft pick assets. Usually we have about 10 picks, but that's because we have 3 or 4 sixths or 3 or 4 fifths. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time in a long time that we can continuously set up our future. And I wouldn't even be mad if, say the Colts pick becomes like a number 15 or something like that. They start winning games, or we start winning games, whatever. I wouldn't be against trading one of our first round picks to go ahead and get a first round pick next year to continue to add to these assets. I think that this team is further away from being a competitive playoff deep run type team than a lot of people are thinking. We do focus in on Jalen Hurts. We do focus in on this coaching, but the players we have are not young, and the players we have are not getting the job done. So they're not great and they're not young. So what's the future of this team? I think this offseason, I know it was supposed to be last season. I'm not going to say it, but hey, I know it was supposed to be last season. But I think this offseason has to be built around figuring out what the heck the future of this team is going to be. So you guys let me know down below. This is probably going to be some long comments, but I'm down to read them. Give me something to read while I'm at work. What do you guys think? What would you do if you could sit down with Howie Roseman and give him a plan for this offseason? What is your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. But y'all know what it is. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace!
Everywhere, this is for you.
Fly Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown, time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog, or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.